everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. We have maybe the most special episode, more special than when Hal came on. And for the first time ever, we are doing a little Queen Alchemy roundtable. So I have four ladies here from Queen Alchemy. They've done Queen Alchemy in the past. We have Shannon, Marianne, Natalie, and Abbie. And they're all here to just really authentically and transparently talk about their experience with Queen Alchemy. And our intention for today is just to keep it conversational, keep it light, but just to help any of you that are thinking about doing Queen Alchemy to listen to these women's experiences and their stories, in the hope that that will help you to either feel like, yes, this is a really good fit, or like, nope, this is definitely not the program for me. So let's just go around. I already need water. Sorry, guys. I get so dehydrated within about 3.5 seconds. Okay, let's go around. We'll start with you, Shannon. And if you guys can all just share with me what your life was like before starting Queen Alchemy, or before working with me, if you worked with me in a different capacity before you started Queen Alchemy. Just really like paint a picture, try to be specific with like the little things as well as the big things. And yeah, we'll go from there. So Shannon, do you want to start us off?
Hi, everyone. So I've given this a lot of thought, and I feel like I kind of need to lead up to like the years leading up to where I was at before I did Queen Alchemy. So I'm going to kind of like go back to it, because I didn't have any severe trauma or anything like that happened in my life, but I had a lot of high stress events that kind of happened consecutively, that led me to the point where I was at when I started Queen Alchemy. So to bring it back to 2016, in July of 2016, my husband and I, now husband, got engaged. And then in August, he moved to Tennessee and I stayed in Massachusetts, and we started a long distance relationship because he began a graduate program, a PhD program. We began long distance, and that was supposed to be for 4 years. So that was kind of crazy. People thought we were crazy that we were getting engaged and going into a long distance relationship. And so we planned a wedding, got married, all long distance. We'd never lived together. And that was stressful. I mean, we knew that it was what we needed to do in order to be together. And we just kind of put one foot in front of the other and just did what we had to do. But so that was a stressful part of life. 2 years planning a wedding and being long distance from Massachusetts to Tennessee. We got married in July of 2018, and then I finally decided to, about a month after that, move down to Tennessee. And the reason why I didn't move to Tennessee in the first place is because of my career. I'm a hairstylist. I had a clientele. I didn't want to leave that clientele for a temporary location with him being a student. It wasn't like a job that he was moving for. Also, I couldn't transfer my license from Massachusetts to Tennessee without having to go back to cosmetology school. And I was just not willing to do that at the time. So by the time I moved to Tennessee in 2019, we had been doing long distance for 2.5 years. I'd only have a year in Tennessee about that. So I just took a break from being behind the chair, and we focused on our health, my husband's health. He had a lot of stress-related health issues at the time, and I just wanted to be there to support him and help guide him through that. So that was my first cross-country move out of 3 cross-country moves in under 3 years. So that was also a very stressful period of events. So I moved from when he graduated in June of 2020, COVID, obviously, like very stressful time. We moved from Tennessee to Kansas City, Missouri for his first job out of grad school. And even though like it was a positive thing, his first job out of school, like it was a stressful time of life. Like COVID was fucking crazy, and to say the least. But so 3 cross country. This is my second cross country move. So my husband ended up not liking the job. And the fact that we lived so far from family, our family's in Massachusetts, when he decided he was going to leave this job, we knew that if when he got a new job, it had to be either remote so we could move home or something closer to home. So in under a year of being in Kansas City, we decided to move back to Massachusetts. So from 2018 to 2021, I had 3 cross country moves in 3 years. So even though I felt okay about all of them and I felt as though like I handled them well, I think I held on to a lot of that stress from those life events in my body. And one thing that Ruben and I kind of turned to for comfort during COVID was food. And we cooked a lot, we ate a lot, we overindulged. And by 2022, I think is when I did Queen Alchemy, summer of 2022, I had gained a significant amount of weight. So leading up to like right before starting Queen Alchemy, I had just turned 30. I was very unhappy with where I was health-wise. I didn't like how I looked. I didn't like how I felt. And I just knew I needed to make some changes, and I wasn't really able to do them on my own. And at this point, I had been following Monica since probably 2019 when I moved to Tennessee. I found her through this podcast. Yeah, I guess I knew I needed to make some changes. Like I said, I knew I couldn't do it by myself. And I also knew that talk therapy wasn't going to do it either. And I knew I could feel the energetic weight in my body and the trauma and the stress just like out being held on to. And her program was the only way that I knew I'd be able to release it all. I had no idea how impactful it really would be, but at the time I just knew it was the only thing that I'd be able to do in order to get to where I wanted to be in life.
Did you know, like, when you say, Shannon, that you knew it was what you had to do, how did you know? Like, was it an intuitive nudge? Was it like something that I'd said? Was it just reading about the program? Because like it's not like it's a weight loss program or a health program, you
I
know? Like so
know.
you obviously knew that the energetic weight was a result of everything that had happened previously. So if you remember even, do you know what it was that made you be like, "Oh, this program will help?"
So I think it probably was a combination of all the health issues that my husband went through. During that time, I had also done a yoga teacher training, and it was trauma informed. And so I read a book called The Body Keeps the Score. So I already knew that from that yoga teacher training that your body holds on to trauma. So I think it was probably a combination of knowing that, but also seeing how severely stress impacted my husband's health. And like as soon as he graduated his grad program, a lot of these health issues that he was having just disappeared.
I believe
And
it.
it was great. And I know that like I don't even really talk about it to a lot of people because I think
Yeah.
people thought that we were crazy or I was crazy at the time. He
Right.
was on a bunch of medication. I was like, I'm moving down to Tennessee. You're getting off all this medication, and we're just going to start meditating and eating healthy and using essential
Everyone's like,
oils and
"Hey, they're
herbs.
crazy."
And
Yeah.
like, I really didn't even tell people at the time. I just did it. And when I
Hmm.
saw the impacts of it, I knew I was right. So it was definitely a combination of intuition and seeing the effects that stress has on one's body for
Yeah.
myself.
Before we move on to the next ladies, can I just quickly ask you so people don't forget your story? So, what happened then after Queen Alchemy? Like, what did your health then look like? I actually remember one of your, I think it was, I have a screenshot of it. It's either like it was a win in the Telegram group, or maybe it was a DM that you sent me. But what then happened during and after Queen Alchemy with your health?
So after Queen Alchemy, I had, I don't know if I said this already, but I had just turned 30 and I was at a point where I just wanted to be my happiest, healthiest version of myself. I wasn't ready to have kids, but I knew I wanted to get my body to a point where I was ready to have kids. And I wasn't necessarily on a weight loss journey, but I knew I needed to ultimately lose weight to get to that healthy point. And so post Queen Alchemy now, I've lost 55 pounds,
Wow.
which is like it didn't happen overnight. It didn't even happen just obviously in that 7 week period. That would be crazy, but
That would be
it
unhealthy.
has happened since right before Queen Alchemy. And it's just a result of living a healthier, happier lifestyle overall. And now I feel like I am at a point where I want to become pregnant and I'm confident in the health of my body in order to be able to do so.
Amazing. And quick question, did you have to like do any crazy diet things, or do you have to like fight against willpower or anything like in this journey where you lost all that weight? Like was it this hard mental game, or did it happen just easy and naturally because of what you learned in Queen Alchemy and what you were able to release?
It was easy and natural. And that's not to say that I didn't do hard things because I did, but like for instance, this past year, my husband and I cut out all processed sugar, and that was hard. But like it sounds harder than it actually was. Once we committed to doing it, we just did it. And another thing that I forgot to share, which is probably the biggest outcome of Queen Alchemy for me and us, is we stopped drinking alcohol. One thing that I really wanted to do that intuitively came to me during Queen Alchemy was to remove alcohol from my life. And I finished Queen Alchemy in maybe September of 2022. I haven't had a drink since October of 2022.
Wow. Wow. It's incredible that like once you're just so in alignment with yourself, it's like everything just happens so naturally. You don't even have to try. So
It
I
really
love that. Thank
does.
you for
Like it
sharing.
it sounds like the things that I had to do were hard, but they were just easy. Once you decide you want to do them, you just do them, and that's what you know you have to do.
I love it. Amazing. Thank you, Shannon. We'll circle back to you in a second. Marianne, do you want to share what your life was like? Little things, big things before Queen Alchemy, and then might as well at the end then kind of go into what things look like now and how they feel now as well.
Yes, yes. I mean, the difference is like night and day, to be honest. But it's still like actually a process. I think it happened like over the program, but it just keeps on going over months. So I did the program in this year actually. Like first, it was in February, I believe. Yeah, maybe I can also put a bit of context as Shannon. So I would say like generally speaking in my life, I had struggled a lot with like confidence, self-confidence, self-love, like loving myself, accepting myself. Also like really sad, depressing moods at time, like even during my, I would say like teenage years and things like that. And in a way, like when I was thinking about that, like I would say my life was kind of stuck on the same tune and the same moods. Actually, like in 2023, like the Spotify, you know, at the end of the year, they give a label to your like listening style, and my label was like vampire, which is like kind of moody, you know. So I was like, wow, I don't feel like it.
Vampire. Like, what was your spiritual awakening and moment when Spotify told me that I was listening to vampire music?
Well, yeah, I think like now I can see the difference because my tunes, I guess, are so different, definitely. And but like to also give like more history, I guess COVID was also a tipping point for me. I was also away for some time, so I'm French, and I was doing like an internship, end of study internship in Berlin during COVID when there was a lot of restrictions and lockdown. And it was really, so I was kind of really lonely at that time because of, I couldn't see my colleagues because they were at home, for instance. So it lasted a month and I started, so yeah, I'm kind of talking about some issues that I was facing, but like 2 years ago, I was facing a lot of panic attacks and anxiety and also sleep issues that lingered a lot, like during a long time. Which so yeah, unfortunately, like it led me to be hospitalized because I couldn't sleep at some point, really, which was a really intense thing and took me a long time to go back actually to the level I'm at now. But I like Queen Alchemy was definitely on the way for helping me get there. And just to paint a picture, like now I'm so happy because I'm living a normal life in a way. Like I'm a like in corporate job, I'm a consultant. I have developed so many friends because Queen Alchemy has helped me basically, I think now I understand better who I am and like what gives me joy, what brings me life. Like it has given me some direction, and now I can be like more truthful also with others because I better know myself and when to speak my truth. So that was like such a big thing also, like coming home kind of to myself and my personality, and like decreasing anxiety, also sleep issues. Well, yeah, that was a big improvement. I was struggling for 2 years and now like I'm
Oh,
so happy. Usually
did we
I
just lose
sleep at
Marianne? Oh, sorry, Marianne, we lost you for 1 second. Can you just, yeah, it's okay, we got you though. Can you just go from when you said that your sleep issues are no longer a thing?
yeah, truly, like it still happened that I can wake up at night, but now it's like 8 hours, and like it's a bliss. Like, and usually, like in the morning, I'm always thanking myself and thanking God or like the universe. Thank you, like for sleeping 8 hours because I know like what it does not sleeping, and how bad also it gets into your mental health. Like it's such an important thing. So yeah, like this is for instance like something I tell myself every day, and it helps. Like being grateful for like your improvements every day. So, but so many other things. But this was like night and day. That's why like for me it was major, really.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. Do you guys all agree that you could feel that kind of like snowball effect that even though Queen Alchemy's only 7 weeks, like it just compounds without you really having to try? Yeah. I feel like I see that so, I mean, that's obviously the intention, right? That's like how I want my work to work. But I see that so much in people's testimonials where they'll email like 2 or 3 years later and it's like, it just keeps getting better. And I'm like, that is the power of doing this work because then you're just in alignment and it's like, you're not having to do this like heavy mindset work every day. It's like your body is just in that state of like homeostasis, right? And you're connected to your body again, where it's just like you don't even have to try. Things just keep getting better. You don't have to keep doing like a bajillion retreats. Everything just keeps happening naturally. And it's like that should be everyone's human experience, but obviously it's not. So thank you, Marianne, for sharing that. That was so beautiful. And I'm so glad that everything is just so good now and you're living like a normal life. It's not even about needing to live this like crazy amazing life. It's just like being able to feel so content in your life is also such a good feeling. Yeah. Thank you. Natalie, do you want to share? So you're sharing, like painting a picture of where your life was before Queen Alchemy and then what it's like now.
Yeah, sure. So I actually, like a lot of what people have said, is I very much see my life as like a bit of before QA and then after QA, kind of a bit, because there was such a notable difference, I guess, before Queen Alchemy. So when I think about the couple of years prior. So I did it last year in 2023, probably about April time. And so I guess before doing Queen Alchemy, when I think about how COVID impacted me and whatnot, so my husband's in the military, so he was away a lot during those. In Australia, I was kind of 2020 and 2021, where it was like the bulk of it, as was everyone. But he was away a lot during that time. And while I always say military spouses, you kind of just deal with what comes and goes. I think I didn't understand how much it impacted me being alone and him being away in that situation. It's different, I guess, when they're away doing their job versus when there's a global pandemic, and I was already quite isolated from everyone. So there was that. And then I also had quite a history of eating disorders and just not loving my body and myself. And I think that coupled with, I guess, the one person who I love and who usually tells me, why do I feel very emotional right now?
Because
Who
you've come
tell,
so far. It's
yeah.
like so nice to reflect.
Yeah, I guess, and I guess having that rock in my life who would tell me all the time that you're beautiful and all that, and I needed that reassurance from someone that I was beautiful, and anyway, all of that kind of thing, and he wasn't there. So I think while I just carried on, I'm like, oh, I'm fine. Like, I think by the time I got to doing Queen Alchemy, it really wasn't fine. And I think then that's just a culmination of several years. It doesn't happen like, overnight. And I think the other really big thing, and I think I put this in my intake form, was I felt like a girl, like in the sense that, I was married, I was, I was working a full-time job. For all intents and purposes, I felt like I should feel like a woman, but I didn't. I still felt very much just like a girl, and I didn't know what or how, like what I needed to do to change that as well. And so then coming through Queen Alchemy and just kind of understanding so much about myself and my feminine energy and just embodiment and all of that, like obviously when you're in that 7 week bubble, so much happens, but then being able to just incorporate that into life after QA as well, because life does happen after you leave that bubble, and you've got to be like, you're able just to keep the momentum going, as everyone's kind of said. And so I think since doing Queen Alchemy, we've since had a baby. So like, obviously that was a major life change. But, I think having a lot of information from Queen Alchemy about, how to just be in the best energy I can be for myself, for my husband, for my child, and not be at a detriment to everyone in my, like, not be detrimental, because it's a stressful time, but, obviously, it comes with so much joy as well. So I think Queen Alchemy just gave me so many tools, that I have been able to continue to implement since doing it over almost 2 years ago now. So yeah.
Gosh, I love that. Thank you for sharing. I turned my video off because the microphone off because the dogs are
All
dealing with
good.
something. I don't know what they're feeling. Anyway, so in terms of like, you obviously pre-doing Queen Alchemy, you're struggling a lot with just like your relationship to your body and how you thought of yourself. What is that like now, especially but your body changing through pregnancy and then obviously postpartum?
Yeah, definitely. And so I think what Queen Alchemy really did for me was just like getting an understanding of just womanhood. So now, yes, my body is not what it was a year ago, but that's because I had a baby and my body did this miracle of a thing where it built a human being. And so, yeah, it's not going to look the same, and that's bloody cool. Because, sorry,
Don't say
but
we're in my
so,
podcast. Do not
yeah,
say sorry.
I know. But like that, it's amazing, and being able to see what how my body is now. It's a season. I probably, as long as I keep doing what I need to do, maybe I'll go back to how I look. Maybe I won't go back to how I looked before, but that's okay, because this incredible, beautiful thing happened. And also, my husband's like, "You've got better curves now." I'm like, "Thank you, babe."
Yeah.
But but I think a big part of it before was I would think, oh, maybe I look fat now, quote unquote. But like, I think my husband's now looking at me like, you brought our daughter into the world with that body. Like it's, and me being able to accept that as well, being like you, again, I'm feeling really emotional now. But it's just being able to see it now as, yeah, my body is just this beautiful thing that does it, yeah, I don't know how else I can
Love
explain it,
it.
but I'm not
Yeah.
articulating very well.
No, that's great. So to let me ask you a question. So do you feel like you're having to, I try to explain to people, like you guys have probably heard me say this, of like when you finish Queen Alchemy, you're not telling yourself these things and being like, okay, I'm just believing my body is blah, blah. It's like you actually feel that. So do you, Natalie, like you're not telling yourself, I love my body, it's amazing. That is actually like the stream of consciousness coming through your body.
100%, 100%. It's not even, and like, don't get me wrong. Like we're human. I think we have moments where, the
Of
ego kind
course.
of thoughts come in. I think that's very normal. But at the end of the day, I'm just like, meh. I know that I know I'm awesome. Sorry,
Yeah.
but
And so like yeah,
yeah,
like your source of truth has changed
correct.
from I'm not enough to I am enough. And of course when those moments come in, like even like as I'm now pregnant and my body's changing, like of course those thoughts come in. It's
Yeah,
also sometimes like it's hormones depending
yeah,
where you are in your cycle and all of those things. But the ability to be like, oh, it's just my brain, like it's not the truth is freeing. Yeah.
yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Love it. Thank you, Natalie. Okay. Last but not least, Abbie, and then we'll do some rapid fire with some other questions that I've got for you guys.
Okay, yeah, hi everyone. So, my life before Queen Alchemy, and really just before entering into Monica's world and her programs in general, completely night and day. When I was going through Queen Alchemy, I was in a graduate school program. I was getting my specialist degree to become a school psychologist. I wasn't really loving what I was doing. I felt really disconnected from the work. I didn't really believe in a lot of the things that I was doing with a lot of like diagnosing and treating kids with learning disabilities and just disabilities in general. And so I felt very disconnected from myself, from my purpose, from what I was actually meant to do at that time in my life. I also had like not a great boss slash mentor at that time, and that really, really wore on my mental and emotional health. And about 5 years before that, I had gone through a really deep depression. Both my husband and I did. I worked at a school where kids had a lot of trauma, and I didn't understand things like secondary trauma and all of that stuff. And I was literally holding so much in my body to the point where like I lost a bunch of weight. I had like really bad cystic acne. I was losing my hair. That time my husband got deployed. That was a hot mess. And then he came home. And honestly, when he came home, it was more of a hot mess than when he was away, just because of the ripple effect of everything that happened and all of the trauma that he also went through. And then I wasn't also in the space where like I could emotionally or energetically hold him and all of the kids that I was teaching at that point. And so I was just slowly entering into like trying to find different modalities and stuff that worked. I did a lot of therapy, did a lot of stuff. And so by the time I came to Monica's work, I had done therapy. I was in the school psych program. And so I had a lot of limiting beliefs about the coaching world and about this work, because I'm like, what is this? Like, what is somatic work? Like, what is going on? Are these like just uncredentialed counselors that are like doing that? Like, that was literally a belief that I had.
I'm glad you're sharing this. Like it's a thought people have. I'm glad you're sharing this, Abbie.
Good. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, full transparency. So I had
Love it.
a lot of judgment. But honestly, once I started listening to Monica's podcast and doing some of her programs, like my life just got better. Like little things just started to happen and it just got better. And after Queen Alchemy, I mean, now I'm in a completely different place. I decided to graduate with my master's and not do the specialist degree and go into school psychology, because that was not in alignment with me and my beliefs and everything. Since then, I've got my coaching certification, additional yoga certifications, and I've started my own business, and I am in a completely different place now. My husband and my relationship with my husband has like turned night and day. Like our relationship hasn't been this great since we were first married, and it just keeps getting better. Like I was reflecting on Queen Alchemy and everything that's happened since, and I did it a year ago, and I'm like, my life literally just keeps getting better. Like it happened a year ago, and it's like the gift that keeps giving. Like it just continues to get better. And even like now I'm like, oh my gosh, there are still the ripple effects of this program that I did a year ago. Like it's insane.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for sharing all of that, Abbie. That was just like, I had goosebumps as you were sharing all of that. So thank you. Is there anything else though that you want to share about like just kind of your like obviously you were apprehensive, like what is this stuff, like is this real? Is there anything else that you could just share about that? Because like as I was saying on my Instagram story even yesterday, like there are people out there these days that are doing this stuff that do not know what they're fucking doing. And that is obviously a problem. And people can really fall into the trap of it. So maybe even sharing like, what made you know that like I was the real deal and you weren't going to fall into the trap of like some crazy weird shit?
Yes, that's a really good question. So I think like I definitely wasn't a person that like found Monica and jumped right into Queen Alchemy. Like I needed to be warmed up a lot. Like the first time I listened to Monica, I was like, what the fuck? What is like what am I listening to? And I was like honestly really triggered at first when I started listening to your podcast, and then but like I couldn't like turn it off. It was like a weird thing. It was like I'm
like a drug. So bad for you, but so good.
Seriously, I was like, I like hate this and love this at the same time. Like, what's going on? And so I really needed to be warmed up a lot. So I think what really differentiated you was like, well, one, I had been listening to your stuff for quite a while, and I was like really beginning to integrate a lot of the practices and the things that you had recommended. And it was just like, it gave me the tangible evidence of like, okay, this works. I might not understand the why and the how of this, but this does. Like, this isn't just a random girl on the internet, like selling a random thing for a high dollar amount. Like, I'm like, this is actually legit. Like, this is actually things that are working. Like, it's actually things that are going to give people tangible results. It's not like a scheme where I'm just going to buy this really expensive program and then just be like, okay, this is shit. You know what I mean? Like, so I think the tangible results of like, oh, wow, this stuff actually is working.
That's really helpful. So for anyone listening, it's like, if you're on the fence, then keep absorbing and receiving all my free content. And if that helps you, then that gives you an indication that you'll get like 100 times that in a paid program.
Yes.
Amazing. Okay. Was there something else that you wanted to say?
No, just that. 100%. That was, yeah. No, that was great.
Okay, amazing. Okay, so circling back to the top now, Shannon. So this is for all of you. We'll kind of go through. So just thinking about, we'll kind of make it a little bit rapid fire. And the first thing that comes through, but what was something that surprised you about this work, like as in kind of the modalities? And when I say this work, I mean like the somatics, the learning, all of basically what's in Queen Alchemy. What surprised you about this work and my approach to somatic healing and trauma healing and being in your feminine, all of that stuff?
I think the biggest shock that I had with the somatic healing was the breath work. And the fact that it actually, I felt the changes in my body immediately. Like one thing that I had been struggling with for a while was like a curvature or a hump on my spine, like the base of my neck and my spine. And from 1 hour of the breathwork session, it was gone. Like
Wow.
I couldn't stop talking about it for weeks. And like I would just touch my back and I'd be like, I think my husband probably got annoyed with me because I'm like, my spine's straight. Like from a breathwork session, straightened out my spine. Like the amount of like hours I spent on a foam roller or like chiropractic sessions that I had been to, like trying to stretch it out and like make sure that I like held my neck back and not like keep my head down all the time. After 1 hour of the breathwork session, it literally fully straightened out my spine. And
Oh
it's
my
still to
God. I'm
this
like,
day. Like
that right there, money well spent.
seriously, like I would do the whole program again just for that 1 hour of breath work.
Oh my God, I love it. Thank you, Shannon. Okay, Marianne. What did you feel like was something that surprised you about my approach to this work or that felt just like different?
For me, like the approach, the body-based approach was so new to me, and kind of life-changing in a way, because I'm such a brain, like head person, that I was totally like not feeling my body, not understanding like what was going on. And now also like after the work, I think you tune in, like I got to tune in with my intuition, with my trauma as well, but to clear them, so that was beautiful. But yeah, just getting in touch with my body was, I don't know, something could have never done it in another way, I think. So
Amazing, amazing. Natalie?
Very similar to Marianne. The whole concept of somatic healing was brand new to me before obviously I'd heard about it through you, but I'd never actually engaged with it before because I don't think I didn't know any other way to engage with it because it's not something you can really do easily unless you've got someone to guide you through it. So I just think the whole experience of I'm pretty much mimicking what Marianne said, but the whole body healing and healing your trauma in places you didn't really realize that it was still being stored, I think was surprising and new to me completely.
Amazing. I love it. Abbie?
Yeah, I think the biggest things for me was like one, how fast like it worked. Like with the breath work or any of the other practices, like the fact that it was done in 45 minutes or an hour and that was it. I'm like, this literally took me months in therapy. Like literally. And I'm like, and then after sometimes when I did different therapy modalities and therapy, I would sometimes leave feeling worse where I'm like, I feel worse than when I came in. Whereas like the different somatic healings that you led us through, I mean, it was literally after it was like, I feel lighter. Like even though I just like bawled my eyes out and this like crazy moment where I released so many emotions, like I actually feel lighter after it as opposed to feeling heavier and more bogged down and feeling really identified with the trauma, if that makes sense, as opposed to just being like, nope, it's gone. I don't need to analyze it. I don't need to think about it. It's processed through and not needing to make meaning out of it, if that makes sense.
Oh my God, you guys know I'm so about that in Queen Alchemy of like, we don't need labels, we don't attach ourselves to our trauma. Like all that does is keep us stuck in victimhood and the past. And it's like, we're not aiming for perfectionism, right? Like Queen Alchemy is not about becoming perfect. It's not about saying that what happened in the past didn't exist. It's about releasing it. Yeah, it's a part of you, but it's not you. Like you are you. You are not what happened in the past. And just, I mean, that's where the freedom comes from, right? Where we're not attaching ourselves to things that happened, like quote unquote to us, but actually being able to release them. So thank you for all of that you guys just shared. Guys, I wanted to remind you, if you haven't seen my new masterclass, The Blueprint to Feminine Embodiment, you are going to want to check it out. This masterclass is literally like 2 hours of just pure nuggets. Think about the nuggets on my Instagram stories, all piled in the most juicy, beautiful, aesthetically pleasing masterclass format. We have slides, we have pictures, we have no slides, we have just the whole thing. Okay. Make sure you watch it. I cannot tell you just how incredible the information is in this. And it's 2 hours long. Those of you that have watched it, I cannot even begin to tell you how many messages I've gotten of how is this free. So if you haven't already watched that, you're going to want to. We also have a bunch of other masterclasses there on the Masterclass Vault, which is also a new section on the website page, which I'm really excited about. So I'm going to leave that there. The Blueprint to Feminine Embodiment Masterclass. You're going to want to watch it, especially if you are on a journey of healing your trauma so that you can actually be in your feminine. Okay, question for you then. Some of you kind of said this one. I feel like, Abbie, you kind of have answered it. So maybe if you're like, I don't have anything else to say, then we can just skip you. But what were some of your biggest fears or doubts coming into this program? So like if you were like Abbie and it was like, this chick is totally fucking crazy, did you think it was like going to be the biggest waste of money? Like, be honest. Like, you guys know I'm not going to be offended by anything. What do you feel like was your biggest fear about doing this? Shannon, we'll start with you again.
So my fear didn't actually kick in until after the first session when I realized what the program was going to be like. And that's more of a personal thing for me because like Monica knows, I'm unable to visualize anything. I cannot see anything in my mind's eye. So in that moment, I was like, crap, like, what have I gotten myself into? This isn't going to work for me because I can't see what she's guiding me to visualize. But that wasn't the case. Even though I wasn't able to see anything, I was still able to identify it from her guiding through it and release it. And after I felt the first effect from the first session, within like that week, I was like, okay, we're good.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. Marianne.
So yeah, for me, definitely the investment part. Like, I was a young professional. I had started working for less than a year, so it was a big part of my savings that I invested, definitely. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be broke for sure, and kind of crazy actually. I think I shared it to you. But like after the program, I got some tax refund that really helped, like refund my savings. So that was kind of crazy that I couldn't possibly know about. So basically, like that was kind of a fun part of it. And like in the end, it's not even been a year, but I'm like really fine with savings. So and investing. So yeah, like the financial fear was definitely there.
But like the money came back, right?
Yeah, the money came back, and yeah, it just you have to remind yourself that the money coming back. It's just not the end, truly.
Yeah. I actually saw an Instagram reel before we got on. I saved it. Wait, it's like, it was about a Switzerland holiday, but I feel like it's totally applicable to what we're talking about right now. I was actually like, oh, I need to make a version of this. Hold on, let me find it. Okay. Imagine being 70 and remembering that you skipped that winter trip to Switzerland because it was quote unquote too expensive. And it was like, you could apply it to this of like, imagine being 70 and remembering, I mean, whether it's the program or whatever, but like remembering that healing that you skipped because it was quote unquote too expensive. Like you never regret, like no, like there's no one that could be sitting here or like any of you, I don't think would be sitting here and like, yeah, I regret that. I mean, like as Shannon said, like I would pay Queen Alchemy again just to do that 1 hour of the breath work because I mean, that comes from like the valuing of yourself, right? But often our self-worth, when it's low, which is the case when we're starting Queen Alchemy often for people, that is actually what can inhibit us from investing the money because we don't feel worthy of it. But then once you've done Queen Alchemy, you're like, oh my God, like I would do that 10 times over if it meant that I felt this way. It's like we need to value our health the same way we value our career. Like we'd spend $5,000 on like some big career opportunity that would grow us in our career, but why don't we do it when it comes to our own like personal development and our health? Anyway, Natalie.
Again, mimicking what Marianne said, but yes, the financial contribution, and also because at the time, like my husband and I are married, but we still kind of have separate finances. It just kind of works for us. But I had to quote unquote ask him for the money to do it. And as I kind of mentioned before, my husband's in the military. Trying to explain to him that I want to do a course that
called Queen Alchemy. He's like, what is that name?
Literally, and so yeah, so just that whole conversation was in its of itself. So that having to bolster up the courage myself to ask was already a really big, scary first step for me. So that was one thing. But then the second thing I just want to say is like, okay, so I've built up all this courage to ask, and now I was terrified that I wouldn't see results because I had done courses before from other people, and I had as I've done therapy and stuff before, and I was just terrified that I'm gonna have put all of this money into this thing, and I'm gonna come out 7 weeks later, and I'm gonna see nothing from it. I was so terrified, and my husband's gonna be like, remind me what that Queen thing was that you did, but. So I think that was what scared me a lot at the start again. But like, yeah, would pay it again in a heartbeat.
So, question for you, was there anything in particular that you could give advice on for other women? Because, like, I have people that will email and it's like, well, how do I say that? How do I explain this to my husband? And I'll give them some tips. But what would you say, like, and obviously everyone's different, that helped for you?
So I did have to kind of frame it for him a little bit, but I guess I said to him, I said, look, I've been feeling this way. I've been feeling kind of down, like I'm not 100% in myself. This looks like something that could make me better. I remember I said to him, I feel like this could make me a better wife and better person for you as well as for me. So I didn't mention breath work. I didn't mention any about that, but I guess trying to just angle it so, like, I know you love me and I know that you want me to be the best person I can be. And I think that this is going to help me be that person. I could be wrong, but I think it's going to help me. And I guess that's kind of the way I positioned it for him. And he was kind of like, okay, well, if you think so, then let's go ahead and do it. So, yeah.
Men are like so amazing. I just had another woman email me, be like, this is a conversation I just had with my husband. And he like, oh, it was via text, and she like put the screenshot of the text in the in the email. And I'm just like, men are the best. Like, all they want is for us to be happy. And if they get to contribute to that, they're just like, whatever makes you happy makes me happy. And I'm just like, oh,
And what I will say to that is that once I explained it to him, which was maybe a 5 minute conversation after I'd been sitting on it for about 2 weeks to ask, he was like, okay, babe, like, yeah, it sounds good. Like, it honestly, I just had to kind of explain it in a way he would get. And then it was like, yeah, okay, all right,
yeah.
done. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like definitely with men, it's like, don't explain the woo-woo side of it. Just explain the tangible side of it. And like I've said to other women, just show the testimonials. If he looks at the website page, he might be like, who is this crazy chick? But if you show the testimonials, it's like that helps him to kind of be like, okay, other women have had gotten results from this. Like it could help you as well. Love that. Thank you, Natalie, for sharing. Abbie.
Yeah, so I agree with everything everyone else has said, but yeah, mine was very much twofold of one, the limiting beliefs I had about somatic work, just because again, that was really going against everything that I was being trained to do in my graduate school program. And then two, also the financial investment, because I had not invested that much in a healing program or a coach or anything like that. Like I had done therapy, but it wasn't, the cost was a lot different. So I was also very nervous about that. That was like, oh my gosh, am I really about to spend this much money on this? But then now after I'm like, yeah, duh. Like, of course I would do that. That was so worth it. I would do that again and again and again.
Oh, I love it. Thank you guys. Okay, so last question to just like tie everything up. What is one word that you feel like would just encapsulate your experience, and think about that flow on experience, the flow on, like I lost the word, baby brain. What is it? The flow on results, the flow on effect. What would be one word that would wrap up and kind of encapsulate your experience in Queen Alchemy and just the flow on effect and kind of what Queen Alchemy has given you? You guys can all unmute yourself if you want, so we can just like pop around. Shannon, what would yours be?
For me, it would be weightlifting, and I mean that in a physical, emotional, and energetic way.
Oh, I love that. Marianne?
So, self-discovery.
Self-discovery. Love that.
Freedom, just to be yourself and to just try all the different hats that come with that.
Home. I think doing Queen Alchemy, it allows you to come home to yourself.
Oh, thank you ladies so much. Is there anything any of you guys want to share? Anything that you feel like is important that you forgot to mention, or that you just feel like you want to say before we wrap up and go? You guys can just unmute yourself. Yeah, go Natalie.
what I will say is the first time I messaged Monica about doing QA was 2 years before I actually did the course. And all I can think about, and obviously everything has its own timeline, but all I can think about was, what if I had done the course 2 years earlier? What could I have, how could my life have been different? What could it be different now, almost 2 years since doing the course? Like, I think about that a lot sometimes, but yeah, I sat on it for 2 years before I actually did it. So yeah.
And you know what, Natalie, you're not the only one. I have people that will sit on it for like, because I've been doing this program for a very long time. I've had people sit on it for like 5 years, and every single person that's done that has said to me, the biggest thing I regret is not doing this earlier. And just like for anybody listening, if you have been thinking about literally anything, whether it's a program, a pair of shoes, a fucking holiday for a year, like not even if it's been 6 months, like you're thinking about it for a reason. Like even if it doesn't make sense, because we could all agree, like trying to explain this program is very hard. And like many of you said, you didn't know how it was going to work. You didn't know why this thing worked. And like even still, sometimes it's like, how did this work? How did breath work? Like straighten out my spine, right? When we get so stuck in that, like how, we then stay stuck in that spiral and we never actually go and do the thing that like we're being called to. So for anyone listening, if you've even been thinking about Queen Alchemy for 3 months, like you haven't forgotten about it for a reason. Like do the thing so that, you're not thinking, oh my God, if I did this 5 years earlier or a year earlier or even 6 months or 2 years earlier, like Natalie. Thank you for sharing that. It's a really good point, Natalie. Abbie, did you want to share something?
Yes, I just want to second that. Do it now. You will not regret it. Monica does such a great job of creating such a safe container for you to be your most vulnerable and odd, weird self and to just let it all go. And I'm just very grateful that you set that up for us to have, Monica. So thank you so much. And do it now. Sign up right now.
Thank you, Abbie. Thank you guys so much for being here. I just feel like giving this time because I know that you're all very busy ladies and an hour is still a lot out of your day. So just want you to know that I really, really, really appreciate it. I'll let you know once the episode is up. We're going to air it in January because December people are kind of like tuned out for Christmas. So you can see yourself or listen to yourself on the podcast, which is so exciting. And yeah, I just want you guys to know, like, I really, really, really appreciate you reaching out and saying that you'd be so happy to do this. So thank you all so much. All right. Okay. I hope that you guys all have the best rest of your day. Marianne, please enjoy that Paris snow. I keep seeing fucking reels of it on Instagram and I'm just so jealous. I'm like, I want to be in Paris with the snow because it never snows. Is it just so beautiful?
Oh, it is. And yeah, as you said, like it's so rare in Paris to have snow. So unfortunately, it's not supposed to last, but I wish just to make some snowball fight or something like that. That would be awesome.
Especially so early. It's not even like it's January or anything.
No,
maybe you guys will get a lot of snow and then I'll have to like petition to come to Paris for a trip. Anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And I'll speak to you all soon. All right, keep me updated on like the life things as the snowball effect continues to happen. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye, ladies.
Thank you so
Thank you all
much.
so much.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Guys, if you haven't seen, we have some super extended payment plans right now for Queen Alchemy, or you can just join Queen Alchemy early, pay in full, and get access to the material ahead of time so that you have done as much as possible and gotten ahead before we start the live calls. So if you do want to join the next round of Queen Alchemy and maybe finances have been a barrier to entry before or like cock blocked you, now is the perfect time because we normally can't offer an extended payment plan this long, but because we have such a break between these two rounds of Queen Alchemy thanks to our wedding and then the Christmas holidays and then my book coming out, it means that you get to join Queen Alchemy earlier for a longer payment plan and have a longer period of time to actually do some pre-work, which is super exciting. So all the details for that are on the website page in the description below. Oh my goodness, you all, that was so amazing to have those past Queen Alchemy ladies join us on the show. I feel like I want to do more of those because that just felt so special for me to be able to just hear everybody talk about pre-Queen Alchemy, post-Queen Alchemy. But what I also just really love is so any other past Queen Alchemy ladies, if you have anything that if you have any answers that you want to give, feel free to just like send a DM or an email. Like if you're like, wait, I want to give some answers on this. But what I really love is when people share, oh my God, I listened to Monica and I was so triggered. Like I thought she was fucking crazy. Or, I was like, is this going to work? Or as Abbie was sharing, like she was super skeptical of the coaching space and all of that. I actually love when people share that because I think it's really real, and like so many people are like that. And like I have been talking about on my Instagram stories a little bit, you should be skeptical because, there are people out there, and this is just like the world today and the beauty of the internet. There are people out there that really do not know what they're doing. And it's so important for you to be discerning about the people that you are working with. I've done 2 blog posts on this now. We'll link them below, of just really making sure that you're discerning about this. I need to do an episode, or maybe I already have by the time this episode comes out, on just examples that I've encountered with this, whether it's people copying, like straight out copying programs. And it's like, oh my God, people are literally hiring this person and they're actually just copying, for example, Queen Alchemy. The joke is always when like they've actually inquired about Queen Alchemy. Anyway, or whether it's somebody that behaves like super unethically and just frankly like is very predatory and disgusting. And like I see it because I'm getting it, like it's happening to me or it's happening to my team members. And people aren't picking up on this person's just like really gross energy. And then they're like, oh, yep, I'm going to work with this person because they're going to heal my trauma, when it's like that person ain't going to fucking heal your trauma. So it is important to be really discerning. It is important to be a little bit skeptical. I think it is, I think it's a good thing to be a little bit skeptical. It also makes you just like look harder into, is this actually a fit for me? So for anyone that's sitting on the fence about Queen Alchemy, I mean, obviously don't sit on the fence too long because like Natalie was saying, and like I've had a lot of other girls share as well, you don't want to wish that you did it 3 years prior when you had first inquired. Like if any of you are listening and you've been thinking about it for a long time, just fucking do it because you're listening to this episode. Like, that I'm obviously going to help you. But if you're new here, my recommendation is really to absorb my free content. I have a lot of free content for a reason. I do it so that you know that I will help you when you work with me, that I am the real deal, that I genuinely care, that we provide really high quality experiences and very safe spaces, and that I do everything very ethically and I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this work since 2017, 2018. So I've been around the block a few times and I know how to work with people. So watch the masterclasses that we have available. The Blueprint to Feminine Embodiment is the one that is really good for explaining Queen Alchemy because it goes through everything trauma-wise so that you can be in your feminine. Listen to podcast episodes, reach out to us to ask questions, start with a little program like Empoweredly Submissive if you want, so that you can just feel the energy of being in, even though it's a much smaller paid program, it's still like a different energy to the free content, and implement things that you're learning through the podcast and these masterclasses and whatnot. Because like Abbie said, when you start to feel and see these micro transformations, that's what helps you go, ooh, if I'm getting these micro transformations from this free content, imagine what I'm getting in the paid content. Okay. We're always here for questions. So please feel free to ask any questions, whether it's about Queen Alchemy or whether it's about another one of my containers. And I will see you guys in the next episode.